So I am very curious about this Asmongold video where he says we need to talk about pay to win. Now, from my interpretation, from what I've seen from Asmon so far, he agrees with me in most pay to win things. I'm curious as to why he wants to have the discussion about pay to win at this point. So let's see what this is all about.
What's up, boys? Today I wanted to talk to you all about a very controversial topic, and that topic is pay to win. And we're going to be talking about it in the context of Western audiences and how pay to win has become more prevalent in Western games nowadays, and how the audience's reception to pay to win has changed over the years, why I think that is, and how we can use that as...
It's the boiling frog effect. It's the boiling frog effect, dude. People have just accepted it. They've accepted their this is their destiny. Guys, this is what we're gonna get. And they just accepted it. And they decided not to fight for something that could be better. They decided not to speak with their wallets. They're like, nah, this is fine. Lost Ark being disgustingly pay to win, this is fine. I don't care. In every game that comes out that is disgustingly pay to win, most people are like, this is fine. And again, I get it. They see the writing on the wall, but it's still disappointing. Then Asmon wasted a lot of money on Lost Ark. I don't know. I haven't really followed too much of his Lost Ark content because I became very disinterested in Lost Ark when I saw how grossly pay to win it was. And on top of it, there are also things about Lost Ark that I just, you know, the sheer amount of collectionism content that did not seem particularly interesting to me started turning me off, and the sheer amount of stuff that you'd have to keep track of if you wanted to really be efficient at playing the game, I was just like, I'll pass.
As to plot some sort of a trajectory in the next 5 or 10 years of where these games are going to go. Now, pay to win for games in some degree or another has been around for the better part of 10 years, maybe even 10 years by this point. But I think that for the longest time, it's just been something that's existed in mobile games. It's been in, you know, Raid Shadow Legends and these other types of mobile games with these arbitrary gating systems like energy stuff, etc., right? And you would have to spend real money to get these things. And I'm going to talk about how I think pay to win has managed to work its way into Western games, and how I think that audiences nowadays are...
Like, you guys want to hear something funny? Because like Asmongold talked about mobile games, right? Usually when you want to talk about pay to win, one of the games that I like bringing up is Warframe. And people get so mad when I bring up Warframe and I say that Warframe is pay to win. People get so mad. It's not really pay to win. It's like, it's not. I could swear I could just like buy platinum and buy a prime Warframe. I could swear you could do that. Which literally translates to power. Huh. And then people are like, well, but you can do that in game as well. Yeah, that's the point. But I can save a whole lot of time by buying platinum and buying a prime Warframe. And it's like this doesn't compute in people's head. In their minds, I'm insulting their game. This isn't meant as an insult. It's meant as a statement of fact. This is just a fact. You know, it's like, if you can buy a prime Warframe for money and it takes you a certain amount of time, I don't care if it's 10 hours, I don't care if it's 100 hours. If it allows me to skip 10 hours by me paying, I don't know how much money it would take to buy a prime Warframe at this point. But let's say, for instance, let's just say for the sake of argument, if it takes you 1 hour and it costs you like $10, that's $10 an hour. You know? It doesn't mean that Warframe is not fun. It doesn't mean that their business model is not fair or whatever. It just means that it's pay to win. It's that simple. What do you mean it's not very pay to win? How is it not very pay to win? If you can literally buy a currency to buy a prime Warframe, how is it not pay to win? Because you can get it in game. Yeah, but I can skip all that and just buy it. And then people start going, well, what's the definition of win? Me dealing more damage. That's winning. That's my definition of win. Can I put money into the game and that makes my numbers go higher, that's winning. It's that simple. People don't think WoW token is pay to win either. Okay, but those people have brain damage. Like, those people are too far gone. I can't do anything for them, right? There's a limit to the amount of people I can help. People who go like, World of Warcraft token's not pay to win. It's like, okay, like, you know that meme with the head caved in? That's those people.
Actually more okay with it, much to the detriment of, I would say, an average gamer, and also I would say, in a grander scheme, the customer in general, the audience, the market in general. I don't think this is a good thing. And so I'd like to start off with looking at like what the context is behind what is pay to win. And I think the fact that pay to win has such a very, it doesn't really have a defined definition. You can't go into the dictionary and find one definition of pay to win and everybody agrees on it. So like, for example, you have games like World of Warcraft, who, in my opinion, I think this game's fucking pay to win as shit.
Of course it is.
I bought WoW tokens and I bought mythic grade gear and then I put it on my main character and now I'm better in PvP. It's rated PvP. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's obviously pay to win, right?
Of course.
But there are people that think that it's not because you can farm that stuff with gold. There's also other people that think that pay to win only occurs whenever you're able to obtain something that is only obtainable by spending real money. So it's like, you know, there's a sword that's better than every other sword in the game, and the only other way you can get it is by spending real money. So, and then there's, on the other side of the spectrum, there's people that think that any cosmetic, even cosmetics reference and cosmetics are a fundamental of value in the game, and so adding value through cosmetics is adding value through giving people the win condition through having them. So what I'm saying is that pay to win has such a broad definition for so many different kinds of people, it's very hard for people to stand united against any sort of real feature of pay to win, because it's just so amorphous. It's so there's no official definition of it. I think that's really what I'm trying to say here. And I think this is one reason why it started to happen, is that people who defend the games and people who are okay with these games can always find some point of difference and some other game that is popular that has some feature of pay to win as well. I think that whenever I was criticizing the Lost Ark pay to win.
Yeah, this was something that happened to me as well. When I criticized Lost Ark pay to win, people came to me like, well, by your definition, Final Fantasy XIV's pay to win as well. And I was like, yeah, yes, it is. And the thing that makes it pay to win, you know, is there's a simple fact. You can buy job skips, which you can consider that pay to win. I don't do that. I don't think you need to do that because the game gives you plenty of stuff to do it. But you can skip all that, and I would consider that to be, to some extent, pay to win. But even more egregious than that, to me personally, is the fact that you can buy a motorcycle in the store that goes faster than other ground mounts without having the maps. Now, other ground mounts can achieve that speed as well by purchasing a map and doing all of these things, but by default, the motorcycle goes faster. So that is another pay-to-win aspect. And there's more. There's the fact that you can buy more retainers. You can pay for more retainers, which allows you to dominate the market by having more things like, by default, you have 2 retainers. Each retainer can sell 20 things on the market board at any given time. If you pay money, you can buy another retainer, thus giving you access to 60 things on the market board at any given time. If you pay a little bit more, you can have 70. I think you can have up to 5 retainers. I'm not sure how many retainers you can have, but you can increase the amount of things you're putting on the market board, and that can be considered pay to win. Yes, 100%. It's just a matter of how much does that affect the rest of the game. That's the way that I look at it. Because, for instance, in terms of me acquiring gear, there's nothing really that you can do in the store that is going to give you a big advantage in terms of acquiring gear. And that would be something that would really bother me. But that doesn't really happen that much. But if you look at it from Lost Ark's perspective, then yeah, you can totally buy gear upgrades and honings and all of this other nonsense and XP boosts and whatnot. And that to me is more egregious, and it is a feature that I'm not willing to accept. But it doesn't change the fact that, you know, the definition doesn't change, right? And just like by my own definitions, then yes, Final Fantasy XIV is pay to win. I'm just okay with the level at which Final Fantasy XIV is pay to win, whereas I'm not okay with the level at which Lost Ark is pay to win.
features, people kept reminding me about World of Warcraft's pay-to-win features, and which I said, yes, you are very, very right about that too. But I
Yeah.
think that in many cases people view it as a personal attack, and I think that
Yeah,
also
exactly.
as especially MMO players, because let's be honest, okay, talking about pay-to-win in an MMO, I mean, this is sacrilegious. This is anathema. This is blasphemy. This is like sacrificing a goat to Satan in the middle of a church. This is the last thing that you want to do. And meanwhile, every single other game that comes out nowadays is somehow pay to win in one way or another. And why does this happen? I think that it happens because, and the turning point for this is it happens because the games, people play them and they enjoy playing the games. It is literally that fucking simple to me. And I think the best example of this is whenever pay to win really, I think, made a very big inroad into Western audiences, which is Genshin Impact. When a previously thought impenetrable audience of pay to win players or pay to win, non pay to win players in the Western audiences, it's like, well, you could never sell a game at Genshin Impact over here, right? Nobody would ever buy it. Then it comes out, and this was off the heels of Breath of the Wild, which is very popular. People like that idea of open world exploration. The game was fluid, it played well, and I haven't really played it myself personally. But
And here's an interesting thing: the reason I stopped playing Genshin Impact isn't even because it's pay to win. I stopped playing Genshin Impact because the traversal feels terrible. In my personal opinion, I know that a lot of people disagree with me on this, but like their stamina system, Jesus fucking Christ. Talk about playing the game for 30 seconds and then looking at your phone. That's pretty much the way that felt to me for the longest time. Again, I don't know if that's changed since then, but I was actually playing quite a lot of Genshin Impact back when it came out. I was playing that game a ton. And then eventually I was trying to explore the map, and I realized that what I was doing was I was climbing for like a couple of seconds, and then I would get to a checkpoint, and then I would literally stand still for like a good 30 seconds to a minute to recover the stamina. Then I'd climb another rock and then stand still for another 30 seconds to a minute and then climb another one. And I was like, dude, what the fuck am I doing? I could be playing something that is fun instead of sitting out here and fucking waiting. So the thing that bothered me again wasn't even the gacha side of it, the pay to win side of it. It was just the stamina system in that game was a piece of trash. It was a piece of trash, dude. Like, I'm sorry. I 100% disagree with people that are like, it was fine. No, it wasn't. Are you kidding me? Jesus Christ, dude. That thing was sluggish as fuck. No wonder the map felt huge. They'd have you dragging through that map like a fucking snail.
I've seen the way that it looks, and it does look visually appealing to a certain degree. And what ended up happening is you had millions of people spending millions of dollars on wishes here in America. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
This is something that people thought would be impossible to do. And I would say 5 years before that, it would have never happened. But look, here it is, and it is happening. And I think that it's actually just as simple as people want a good game to play. And people will forgive and forget and make excuses for...
Stamina system has nothing to do with Breath of the Wild. Nothing to do with Breath of the Wild. The rate at which you recover stamina in that game has literally nothing to do with Breath of the Wild. Don't even try that, Mr. Tummy. It's not even remotely close. Like, listen, here's stamina recovery in Breath of the Wild. You stop doing an activity, it goes like boop. Here's stamina recovery in Genshin Impact. Ching. Like, that's about the difference in stamina recovery.
Pay to win features because they are enjoying the game, and you can make all of the excuses and all of the rationalizations and everything else beyond it, but I think that it's actually just that simple. People are enjoying playing the game, and it's just as simple of two columns, a positive and negative column, and there's more things in the positive column for them, and so they keep playing the game. I think also what's happened, and this is a bit of a generational thing, and I think it's coming, the generational effect is coming from both directions. So the first direction is from younger people. You have somebody right now, like let's say you're 21 years old. Well, if you're...
I think the big problem is as this the generation that came after mine, I feel these are the people who got indoctrinated by this. The generation that came after mine, which I was born in 82. So like the generation that came after mine, parents didn't want to have to deal with them. As a matter of fact, all of the generations that came after mine, or maybe it was even my own generation got the same thing. I don't know. I was lucky enough not to be raised like that, but I feel like a lot of people nowadays, they don't want to have to deal with kids. So they'll slap a fucking tablet in front of them and tell them, play with the tablet. Leave me the fuck alone. I'm too busy like watching a movie or looking at TikToks or some other bullshit on social media. Just play with your tablet and leave me the fuck alone. That's what they do to kids nowadays. They give them a fucking tablet and they don't even care what those kids are doing. If they're watching YouTube, if they're playing random free-to-play mobile games. And the free-to-play mobile games, that is what has indoctrinated people and has conditioned them to just accept this as a state of fact. That's what I feel has happened. People are more accepting of it in regular video games due to the fact that they've been raised while just playing mobile games. They've been raised while playing mobile games, so this is normal for them. They go into a game and the game says, oh, you got to pay for progression, and they just think it's a normal thing. And therein lies the problem. Because people were raised like this, and now they're just used to this. This is the status quo. Nothing has changed for them. This is the same thing. And they're a majority of the workforce at this point, right? So they have expendable income, and they're more than happy to blow it on a video game. Like Asmon interviewed this guy who was playing Lost Ark and had spent over $15K on the goddamn game. Just really imagine that. $15K on digital items. And 2 months from now, Amazon could shut down those servers. What the fuck are those $15K worth? Nothing. Zilch. See? That's the thing. And most people never look at it like that. They just keep putting money in it and it's whatever. And, then you have people like me, which is, I don't want this in my video games. I don't want to spend this money. I got kids to raise. I don't want to be dependent on having to put more money into a video game after I bought it. Fuck that noise. I mean, I'm willing to pay a subscription if the game's good enough. That's about the extent of it. Because that I can predict. I don't want something that doesn't have a limit to how much you can just... It's gambling at that point. It's insanity.
21 years old, the odds are like you've never really lived. I mean, if you're in America here, I mean, hopefully I would at least think you probably never lived without the internet. You don't remember what the Stone Ages were like whenever you had to call your friends on the phone and their mom would answer and then you'd ask to see if Timmy was home so you could go play at the park. This is just not the way people do things anymore. And because of that, I think that many of those people don't necessarily understand exactly how much different it used to be whenever we were like me, like people that are like, I'd say 30 and over. Whenever we were gamers and we were kids in the 90s, there was no real pay to win or anything like that. Pay to win is renting the same video game twice from Blockbuster. So you see an audience of people who have been brought up and conditioned in a way to be more accepting of these types of features because they've grown up with them.
Is a word.
Whereas for people my
I'd say
age,
indoctrinated.
and I'm also going to talk about people my age becoming more okay with it as well. But first thing I want to talk about the young people is that people my age, we see this and we're like, man, like, why can't we just have another Super Mario World again? Why can't we just have let's have another Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time? Like, what is this shit, right? But you have a lot of people who they've grown up and this is all they've known is, oh yeah, you buy this from the microtransactions. So you're establishing a culture, you're establishing a precedent. And for younger people, they don't have any other frame of reference, so that's just what they accept as being okay. And I think that growing up, and that's always been okay, and that it is what it is. I think that's the way a lot of people see it. They've been conditioned to believe that. And then also, for older people, I think that it's literally this simple. And I think that for some people it is. Obviously, everybody is different, and my ideas don't necessarily affect an individual, but this is kind of what I'm assuming. And I'm basing this off of my fundamental belief that people will always advocate in their self-interest. And what I think is that there were the guys that were raiding in high school and college in Burning Crusade, Classic WoW, Wrath of the Lich King. Well, guess what? Now they're balding, gray-bearded, 35-year-old men 35-year-old men that are, they've got a wife, a kids, and you know what? They've also got a pretty good software engineering job, and they're making over 100
No,
grand a
I don't
year.
have that one.
And the kids that are 15 and 17 now that are kicking their ass in the video game, it pisses them off. So I think it's just as simple as a lot of the guys that grew up playing video games, they don't really care too much about pay to win as much anymore because now they can afford to pay to win. So back in the day,
Nah.
they couldn't afford to pay to win. They didn't like it. Now people are older, they have the money, and you know what? Pay to win's not that bad. And I do know this is a very, very,
I fundamentally disagree with this take.
very black pill take on it. This is a very, very, I don't know, nihilistic perspective to have. But I think that it's true. I really do. I see people say this stuff all the time, and you can corroborate this with the amount of mobile game revenue that's being generated here in America. You're having every single soccer mom on the block playing Candy Crush and depositing tickets into that, depositing crystals, tokens, whatever the fuck you use in that game, and they're spending money like these, like it's crack. I mean, like, just so you guys understand, last year, I think this is 2021, I could be wrong about the year, but I'm not wrong about the numbers, mobile gaming revenue was more than console and PC gaming revenue combined. So
it's been like that for a while.
Making bank.
Oh, yeah.
This is the facts, okay? Let me ask you a question. If somebody offers you $100 or $120, which one are you going to take? I think most people are going to take $120. And I think the more that you depersonalize that decision by, extrapolating it to a group decision amongst people in general, the more that you have that $120 be the obvious option. So that's why I think that we're going to see a lot more pay-to-win games come out, because I think audiences have been softened up by the fact that they've grown up with features like this, and so this is either normalized for them, or you have people that are now older and have less time, and so they appreciate features like this because it allows them to keep.
So what he's saying is this is inevitable. This is the future, and you better get used to it. This is the vibe that I get from what he's saying. He's just like, yep, this is the future. Get used to it. This is what you're going to have to deal with moving forward.
Keep up with people that they wouldn't be able to keep up with otherwise, because they just simply don't have, they have other life responsibilities nowadays, and so they pay to win instead. And these are the people that talk about, oh, it's not pay to win, it's pay for convenience. It's like,
yeah.
But
these people are fucking delusional. Yes, it's not pay to win, it's pay for convenience. It's pay to give the developers incentive to inconvenience me.
I think it's important to call it what it is, but it's also important to see why people feel this way. And I think the fact is that this is going to continue happening, and it's going to continue becoming more prevalent. And I think that, really, where is this going to go? Where are people going to go with this? I think that there's going to be even more social pressure to even engage in pay-to-win systems. Now, I only have a few real points of reference for this and data or information.
This already exists, by the way, because if you think it's not necessarily a pay-to-win thing, but if you think about, for instance, kids that were playing Fortnite, there were kids in school. And this was in America, from what I remember. This news came out like a while ago during the big heyday of Fortnite. There were kids in school that were being bullied because they had the default skin. It's like, you poor motherfucker, you can't even afford a decent skin for your character. Just let that sink in. Just let that sink in for a little bit and see what type of social pressure that puts on a child. This is why dude, my kids, whenever they bring up Fortnite, I talk about Fortnite like it's cancer. Not even joking. Like, whenever my kid tells me about it, I'm like, dude, listen, little man, you do not want to play that game. That game is terrible. It's really, really bad. It's the last thing you want to do. I'll let you play Mario. I'll let you play Yoshi. I'll let you play all these other games on the console. Just don't play Fortnite. Don't play Roblox or any of those other terrible games. All right? Fuck that noise.
To back this up, But I do think that it's true, especially if you corroborate it with the, in general, social pressure to keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with the latest social trends, making sure that you
Yep.
have an iPhone 6, because anybody that has an
Definitely.
iPhone 5 nowadays is fucking poor. So what I've seen a lot of times, like remember back in Fortnite, kids would bully other kids for not having microtransaction skins.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to
Exactly.
become even more prevalent
Oh,
and
yeah.
even more common among a larger audience, because I already see this happen. If you guys ever see, go on Twitter, go on Reddit or something like that, and especially on Twitter, because Reddit's more of a crystallized or a more serious audience. And you're going to see, like there's a new microtransaction that X or Y company, let's just assume Blizzard, let's assume Blizzard announces, I don't know, a new store mount, and you're going to see all of these people that, they've got their profile picture of it, and it's of their character, or it's fan art of their character, and their name is like, Ashley Windrunner, and she simps for Sylvanas because she's actually crazy, and, this is the kind of person, and she's like, wow, this is so awesome, I don't have a lot of money this month, but I think I'm going to have to buy this. And it's like people make fun of the girl, and then she's like, well, guess what? I have the money. I'm not a broke bitch. And so people view it, and I think that you're going to see the
This is definitely a culture that I think is completely and utterly fucking ridiculous. When people start flexing money, like I can't take anybody who flexes money seriously. I just legit can't fucking take. If you start talking to me about stacking paper and all this other bullshit, I immediately lose any and all respect that I could have ever had for you. Like that. It goes like that. Boom. The second you start talking to me about like, oh man, look at all this fucking money I make. I'm going to be filthy rich and you're a broke ass idiot. Literally my respect to you goes like gone. Zero. Actually, it's not even zero. It is -10. I'm now hostile. Like if you go to the reputation bar, it now states hostile. Because I think you're a fucking idiot. Oh man, I make all this money. I'm so fucking smart. It's like, yeah. Are you happy though? Talk to me about how happy you are with all that money you're making. Please, talk to me about that. That's what I want to fucking hear about. Because, like, keep in mind, I could be making more money doing other things. But doing what I do, even though it can be frustrating sometimes, it keeps me leveled because it keeps me happy. Which is also the same reason why you look at some of the views in my videos and they're not, there's not as many views as there could possibly be if I would specialize on one topic or something like that. But it keeps me happy to talk about things that I'm passionate about.
the introduction of this to happen more is people are going to view status in video games as being able to afford certain types of microtransactions and having certain types of things in the game in general. And this has always been the case, but what's different this time is that that status is not derived from effort or time invested in the game. It's derived from money invested or money spent in the game. And I think this is already happening. You're already seeing this, and you have more and more people now that actually, it's weird. I think it's just so weird that people almost take pride in spending money on these types of things because they can do it. They feel like this is what they want to do with their money. And, I mean, who am I to tell people what they can and can't do with their money, right? Do whatever the fuck you want. But I do think I can still have an opinion on it. I think it's dumb. But, that's what they do. And so I think this is going to become more and more prevalent, and it's going to become more and more popular as, those younger people who grew up with microtransactions and being conditioned to be okay with them. I think
indoctrinated
more of those people are going to be okay with it, and you're going to see those people getting older, and more of the Asmongolds of these people either getting really good software engineering jobs and being able to just buy the stuff anyway and feel better than the kids that can't fucking buy it. Or you're going to see them move on and, like I have friends of mine who, they were really, really against pay to win and they fucking hated that shit. And they played World of Warcraft back in the day. And now they're like a manager at like a big box store and they have a wife and 3 kids. And so they just don't fucking play video games at all anymore. So that's what I think is going to happen a lot. And those people are going to remove themselves from the population in general. And so of video game players. So I think this is going to become more and more popular. And
I think that in my audience, what is gonna, I mean, I'm gonna make what I believe is going to happen with most of you guys that watch my content. I think that with us, what's gonna end up happening is we're just gonna go back to playing our backlogs. When of it, like for instance, this year we got Sunbreak coming out, so we're all excited for that. I mean, whatever Final Fantasy is going to be putting out, a lot of us are going to be excited for that. There's Xenoblade. A lot of us are excited for that. Obviously, that was Elden Ring. A lot of us were excited for that. So we'll play these games. But if we eventually get to a point where it's, oh, this next game's coming out, it's pay to win. The game's coming out after that's pay to win. The game's coming out after that is pay to win. We're just going to like go back. In my case, I have a huge backlog to fall back on. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be playing old ass games. And then I'll play whatever happens to come out that is not complete pay to win garbage. But, you know, it is what it is. This is one of the reasons why I'm even considering just stop talking about World of Warcraft. Because, like I said, I'm either playing Dragonflight or I'm not going to talk about it anymore. And I'm considering, like, do I really want to go back to that and deal with, you know, the inflation caused by the WoW token and the bots and all this other bullshit, shit being expensive as fuck in the auction house, me having to grind gold. Do I want to deal with that shit? Because I am buying a fucking WoW token. I'll tell you about that right now.
I'm very worried about this, and the reason why I'm worried about it, there's a lot of reasons why I'm worried about it. I think that, like, in a perfect world, I'd like to see, you know, some degree of, like, legislation to limit the types of behaviors and the types of things like this that games can offer you. In my opinion, this is kind of like what I think, and let's use Lost Ark as an example, is that I think that if Lost Ark, let's say because you know in Belgium and the Netherlands, you can't play Lost Ark because according to Belgium and the Netherlands rules and their laws, Lost Ark is an illegal game because it simulates gambling. Well, my opinion is that if Western games and Western audiences, I'm talking like Canada, America, Australia, and you know even more European countries had similar laws that prevented you from playing games like this, the fact is that those games simply would not exist because Western and American audiences are just so massive that they would have to change the game and change the paradigm of how you pay money in order to appeal to making sure that those games were legally coherent and legally they were following the law, right? And so I feel like I would love to see more legislation. And where do I really draw the line? Where do I think pay to win? Like, I don't like any pay to win. Pay to win sucks. Like, yeah, sure. I've done pay to win stuff in Lost Ark. Same with WoW. I usually do it for content and, you know, just because it saves time, etc. And it's in the game. But I would prefer that none of this stuff existed. And where do I really see change happening? I see change happening on a legislation level. I see change happening on a actual, like, a forced level of, like, laws and things like this. Because I've said this many times, these companies, they will do whatever they can to make money, and people will always find a way to make an excuse for buying their products. People hate child labor, but they're still buying products from Apple. People hate, you know, child labor again, they're still buying products from Nike. You know, these things just keep happening, and they'll always find an excuse or a reason for it. And I don't think that you can really hold these companies accountable in any term of a boycott or in any term of a like a consumer rights activism group or anything like that. I think that the only way that it can ever be actually moderated and controlled is on a legislative level, because I've tried everything else and it hasn't worked. And so where do I think that they should draw the line? Where should be the first line to draw? I think it's very simple. I think that you should not be able to buy loot boxes. I think that loot boxes that you spend money, if you ever spend money in a game and then that money goes towards something that is not necessarily a direct outcome. So like, for example, you buy a box and then the box has a randomized chance to have different items in it, like an Overwatch box, and just a traditional loot box. I think that these should be illegal. I think that they simulate gambling, and I don't think that they have. I think not only do they simulate gambling, but these games are also they're made to appeal to children and young people. And I think that using advertising and marketing that appeals to young people and then trying to engage them into a video game that simulates gambling, how is this different from flavored cigarettes? How is this different? I don't know. I feel like it's somehow even worse. And I'm just so tired of seeing this shit. And I think that, yes, you're right. Everybody should, like, I don't necessarily, I'll be honest, this might sound like an asshole thing, but I don't necessarily feel sorry for these people whenever they make stupid decisions like spending money on these games. But I don't think that it should happen either way. It's like, it's stupid to leave your car unlocked with a brand new PS5 in it in a bad, bad side of town, in the middle of an empty parking lot. And then you come back the next day, PS5 is gone. Yeah, I think you're dumb for doing that, but I still think the guy who stole it should go to jail. And the way that I feel about this is that I would love to see more legislation about this. I'd like to see more, not more, at least one, right? Tech-savvy senator or some person in a legislative office that's able to identify this and understand what the problem is and see how insidious it is.
It's never going to happen.
It's very worrying to see this happen, and I'm worried that it's going to get too far ahead of us, and we're going to have even more games that become even more parasitic, and these games implement more gambling features that are more unhealthy towards audiences. And I do think that unless it's actually regulated, I think that there is no way an individual consumer, you can choose to, and I completely respect the idea that, I'm not going to buy this or that game based off of this or that reason because you have a moral thing or you just don't like it. More power to you to do that. But I don't think that's going to change the market. And I think that games like Genshin Impact, games like Lost Ark, games like World of Warcraft that have these obvious features that are simulating gambling, I think these features and the prevalence and the success of these games serves as direct evidence that boycotts and personal abstaining from something personally is just simply not working. And I think that we need some sort of advocacy on a legislative level for this. And I hope that it happens before it's too late and before more people get taken down that road. But again, I think people are dumb. They should be accountable for themselves, and they shouldn't take those decisions to begin with. But at the end of the day, at a certain point, you do have to protect dumb people from themselves. And I think that we're definitely down that road. And I really hope that I hope more people can wake up and see that, and we can actually look and see what's really going wrong. And I think also, if these things didn't exist and they were, for some reason illegal, I don't think that it's not like we wouldn't see video games anymore. We would just see better and more ethically designed video games. And it's not like these people would just close up shop. And if they did, and they can't make a game without simulating gambling, well, maybe that's probably for the best. So Anyway, that's how I feel about pay to win. I think that it's going to become even more popular. I think that it's going to become even more prevalent. And I think the only thing that's going to slow it down is going to be actual legislation. I think that anything else,
I don't think anything's going to slow it down.
Is just completely spitting in the wind. It will do literally nothing, and the people that enjoy it will laugh at you for being upset about it. So that's what I think, and I'd be really curious to hear what you guys think too. I know probably half the people at this point have already paused the video and have already written, "Holy shit!" I think that's the government or one of these companies here to shut me down. A lot of you guys have already paused the video halfway through to give your 2 cents about this in the comments, but if you haven't already, please go ahead and do it. I'd like to read what people have to say and see what they think, because as I said, this is my interpretation of things after seeing them evolve and change, and I'd be curious to see what everybody else's is as well. So thank you all very much for watching. I really appreciate it. And what an ironic statement that this is going to be on the eve of tomorrow, which is going to be the release of the World of Warcraft mobile game. Oh boy. See you guys tomorrow.
Oh
Peace.
God, what a tragedy that was. I'm gonna link the video. Yeah, I agree with some things. Obviously, I disagreed with some of the points that he makes, but one of the things that I definitely agree with, it is gonna get worse, because especially now that with Lost Ark and the amount of money that people poured into Lost Ark, it's inevitable that it's gonna get worse. It's completely inevitable. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.